Good morning. Terry here again. This morning I'm thinking about niceness, specifically my own need to be nice. That in my basic default when I'm interacting with people, be they nice or not nice, is to basically be the nicest person in the room. And it comes from some pretty overt sources for me. One would be my upbringing in Midwest Dutch Reformed circles, where if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. That got implanted in me, and I was actually punished or berated in earlier years by my mom in particular, if I wasn't nice. And then it comes from years of career as a counselor, as a pastoral counselor, where it was my role to not escalate. It was always to de-escalate, to say, it sounds to me like you're feeling blank because blank. An important role. And there's part of me that just is my nature, I guess, that I don't particularly care for confrontation. I prefer places that are settings that are calmer. I don't particularly care to be a lightning rod. If I would blog or share a video that's, I'd say more raw, I could invite similar responses. It's like, do I really want to get into that kind of messiness? So I'm thinking about niceness and my need for it. And there's also kind of this mistaken idea. It's an old dualistic either or. Either I'm nice or I'm not nice. But what about that whole space in between? The opposite of nice doesn't have to be cruel. That space in between of not over filtering, not layering it in so many niceties that what I'm really feeling or my thoughts get layered under all this niceness that it's hard for people to even know, what is Terry thinking? What are his responses? Can I trust what he's saying or thinking? Or I'm so nice in writing that people read it all and it doesn't push at them enough. It doesn't cause them to sit back and wonder about things because things are so nice and easy and comfortable. So I've been thinking about that. What prompted it is a couple of things. One is a friend, Dan, sent me, a book where an author of, poetry and wonderfully carefully drafted writings also started a blog. And in that blog, he gave himself permission just to be more raw. And he warned people about it, that's what he was doing, that they could, take it or leave it, that kind of thing. But where he just wrote what he felt. And I'm thinking, wow, is that okay? And as I'm reading it, the couple of articles that came with the introduction, I ended up buying the book. I thought, how refreshing that is. And the other was prompted by something I read about, it was the context of coronavirus and people choosing to not get the virus because, got to get the vaccine because, it was their freedom not to do so, or they didn't want to put something in their body that was foreign like that, or a couple of people or some people said, well, it's just a government type conspiracy to track you or to alter your thinking or something like that. And the person's response was, it's really hard to know how to respond to that because you really cannot fix stupid. Whoa, right, out there, tell us how you feel, that kind of thing. And then he went on just to not just say, okay, that was it, they're all stupid, nothing to say. Went on to talk about stats and all that kind of thing as well. But it was just that raw moment. And I thought, thinking, Was that okay for him? For one thing, I can imagine the kind of responses he's going to get from people that he referred to as not being able to fix stupid, thinking, I wouldn't want to be that kind of lightning rod. The other part is, part of me, do I automatically or really totally disagree? It's like, wow, do I give myself permission to think about that? So I'm wondering about my default setting of nice. Would it be okay if I was less compulsively nice and more open and saying, here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I am thinking. One example this morning that also prompts it is Anita and I have taken to walking about a mile up the street to a line of restaurants. And they were all closed except for the drive-through. And we were walking, so we couldn't obviously drive through, and there was no outside seating. So we went from place to place and then walked a mile back and got in the car and went to another place that we knew was open. And the reason they're closed is because of the surge of coronavirus, again, with the variant. And recognizing that a lot of the stats that are being used for that are number of hospitalizations, the positives and things like that, the ones that have serious illness, and recognizing that even though it represents about 1/3 of the people that have not been vaccinated, they represent 95% of those stats. And part of me is resentful of that, thinking things were opening up, the economy was moving again, and because people refuse or choose to not get the vaccine or refuse to wear a mask, suddenly things are beginning to shut down again. And there was that resentment for those folks that make that decision, that they put the I above the we. And what they do gives them freedom, but their freedom to not take seriously, I would say, to not believe into the medical profession, those that study that kind of thing, because of their decision, things are clamping down a bit again. I'm thinking, is it okay to feel resentment, or should I be nice and say, well, they're entitled to their own opinion? Or the other extreme is to say, hey, listen, you can't fix stupid. What about those in between? Is it okay to say that? So I'm wondering about niceness. My default is nice. Can I give myself freedom? Or would it be helpful to share in the right setting, to share, this is what I'm really feeling, and whether you agree or not, this is where I'm sitting. So I'd be curious as you listen to this in terms of niceness. I would say, as I think back over the videos that I've posted, the blogs that I've posted, they have been nice. They've been nice. They haven't been raw, they've been thought through, they've been edited, they've been more careful. Would you prefer that I share things that are more from the gut? Even, and my niceness built in is not like I'm going to go crazy and say I'm going to be cruel and attack people and so on. I've got a lot more governors built in than that. But would you welcome or be open to me just saying, I just don't get it. It makes no sense to me. Or I'm frustrated with this. Or I'm angry with this. Where would you stand on that? I'd be kind of curious to hear some feedback on that. So, thoughts on niceness. Talk to you next time.